The Galaxy A52 was a bestseller, just like the A51 before that, and rightfully so. But with the Galaxy A53, I have some doubts whether it can follow in those footsteps. This is my review. The design of the A53 basically didn't change at all. It's still the same matte plastic back with glossy rails as before. I don't really mind that though, because it means that the phone is durable and also looks rather nice, even without a case. I wish that they would have at least changed the colors up a bit though. I have to give them credit that the construction does feel a bit more solid, without the flexing of the back panel that we saw before. The vibration motor is unfortunately still rather poor, and the silver ring around the camera cutout that makes it stand out more is also still present. The phone is IP67 water resistant, which isn't that common in this price range and means that you don't have to be worried about it even when chilling out next to the pool. It also has pretty good stereo speakers and, as is thankfully pretty standard these days, dual SIM support. What it doesn't have is a headphone jack. That's not a big deal for most people and rather normal now, but I feel like it's worth mentioning because the A52 and A52s both had one. At 6.5 inches, the screen is a good size for most people and already just as large as a max-sized iPhone, which is probably why we haven't seen an A73 yet. It's a 120Hz OLED panel that you really can't have any complaints with. Samsung makes the best panels and this one is definitely the A53's strong point. At 1080p it's plenty sharp and also bright enough to be easily viewed outdoors. Again, this hasn't really changed from before, but it also didn't really have to. I wish I could say that the performance of the new Exynos chip inside the A53 was good, but that would just be a plain lie. The Snapdragon 750 and 778G inside the previous models already weren't that well equipped to keep up with everything you threw at them, and unfortunately, at least my model is even worse than that. While the Snapdragon chips we had before did struggle with micro jitter and some stutter after boot, the issues on the A53 are so bad that it makes the experience of using it actually pretty unpleasant. This brings me right back to a couple of years ago when this was just what mid-range phones felt like, but I thought we were way past that. After boot it sometimes takes a minute before the phone is usable again, with animations running at a felt 2 FPS in the meantime. Apps have to reload rather often, scrolling sometimes feels like someone is trying to pull the list in the other direction again, and the worst thing is the performance is sometimes so slow that it interprets a single tap as a long press. That means that when pressing the camera shutter, it sometimes lags so much that it takes a 1-second video instead, meaning you just missed that shot. Sometimes this phone does feel pretty fast, but before you can gain any confidence in that, it just starts to stutter again. The 120Hz display it has is unfortunately completely meaningless because the hardware inside just cannot keep it feeling smooth. This also means that the in-screen fingerprint sensor is very slow. All in all, I think the performance of the A53 is unacceptable, even for this price. And while the Snapdragon chips we had before weren't much better, at least those were fast enough so that they didn't annoy you with a laggy camera shutter and constant slowdowns into the single-digit frames per second. I don't know if it's the chip or the software, but as it stands now, it's just a bad experience. On the positive side, 5G is standard now. Samsung's One UI is one of the better Android skins these days, and thanks to 3 years of software updates and 4 years of security updates, you also don't have to worry about losing support. Not that that matters for keeping performance steady over time, because it's already bad today. One UI does have smart features and is rather well designed and laid out today, but there are still some things about it that annoy me. It comes pre-installed with bloatware like TikTok and still doesn't have seamless updates, meaning you have to wait for that optimizing app screen that hasn't existed on other phones for years. And One UI also doesn't play well with third-party launchers, with those breaking the gesture navigation. The camera is the exact same as on the A52, so I think I can keep this rather short. You get a 64-megapixel main sensor and a 12-megapixel wide angle. The other 2 cameras are basically just decoration. The camera is definitely very good for the price, if you get the shot that is. It has good dynamic range and is also very colorful. As is typical for Samsung cameras though, the colors aren't the most natural and rather a bit oversaturated. It also tends to overexpose, making the images a bit too bright. It means that the pictures are what I would call pretty Instagram ready though. The ultra-wide camera is a bit less capable than the main one, but still a very nice addition. The night mode is also superb for the price and its results, but a bit slow to capture. Video recording at 4K also looks good, and so do the selfies, even if those are a bit washed out. Overall, this is still one of the better cameras you can get at this price point and beyond. Battery life on the A53 is just okay. While it has a bigger battery than before at 5000 mAh, any gains are probably eaten up by the different chip. Get you through a full day, but only if it's at 100% in the morning. Otherwise, you might have to charge it in between, which wouldn't be that big of an issue if the phone charged fast. Unfortunately, it only features 25-watt charging, and that means that it takes about 1.5 hours to get it full, which is almost 3 times as much as some other good options at this price, with the fast charging brick. But there's no power brick in the box anymore, which the A52 and A52s still included. So if you don't want to wait even longer for it to charge, you need to pick up one of Samsung's proprietary fast charging bricks as well. In case it wasn't clear already, I have a pretty hard time recommending the A53. Compared to the A52s, you pay about 100 euros more, even though the A53 already fell almost 100 euros in price itself. And for that money, you get the same design, screen, and camera as last time around, and the new chip is just a complete letdown, probably because of poor optimization. Performance is so bad that it misregisters inputs, and I'm actually glad I can switch to a different phone after testing this. In my opinion, you're better off just picking up an A52s instead. It's basically the same phone with a chip that might not be faster on paper, but that gives you an experience that is actually usable. And as I said before, it has the same design, same display, same camera, and already featured 5G as standard. And it also comes with a headphone jack and a charger in the box for 100 euros less. And thanks to Samsung's great update support, you don't even have to worry about not getting the newest version of Android on it. If you enjoyed this video, you know which buttons to press, and don't forget to press that follow button on Twitter. I'm Brian, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.